The doctor gave me 6 months. My son asked about the house before I left the exam room. Not, "How are you feeling, Dad?" Not, "What do we do next?" Not, "I'm here for you." He asked about the house, the property value, what would happen to real estate. I was still sitting in the chair, still processing the word terminal, still trying to understand that I had half a year left to live, and my son, the boy I raised, put through college, taught to be a man, was already calculating his inheritance. Dr. Martinez's face went cold. I saw it. She saw him for exactly what he was at that moment. That's when I knew everything had to change. I'm Warren Calloway, 71 years old, Prescott, Arizona, retired math teacher, spent 35 years at Prescott High School drilling algebra and geometry into teenagers who thought they'd never use it. I was good at my job because I believed in structure. X always equals something. You follow the steps, you get the answer. That Tuesday morning, nothing added up. The waiting room at Yavapai Regional Medical Center smelled like antiseptic and burnt coffee. Same vinyl chairs I'd sat in 2 weeks earlier for the CT scan. Same magazine rack nobody touched. Same muted television cycling through morning news nobody watched. I'd been here a dozen times since Linda passed 3 years ago. Checkups, blood work, the routine maintenance of getting older. This felt different. The CT scan found something on my pancreas. Dr. Martinez's nurse had called 6 days ago, asked me to come in for a follow-up. The way she said follow-up told me everything. 40 years of reading teenagers' faces when they bomb a test taught me how people deliver bad news. Eric drove me. My son's 43, works in commercial real estate down in Phoenix. Drove up last night to take me to the appointment. I appreciated that, though I did anyway. He sat beside me scrolling through his phone. Screen after screen. Emails probably. Contracts. Whatever it is real estate people do. I wanted to tell him to put it away, but I'm not that father anymore. He's a grown man with his own life, his own mortgage, his own pressures. But the phone bothered me, not because I'm old-fashioned. I text my grandkids. I know how the world works now. It bothered me because he kept checking it every 30 seconds, like he was waiting for something more important than sitting with his father before a cancer appointment. I filled out the intake forms with hands that wouldn't stay steady. Name, date of birth, insurance information. I'd filled out these same forms 100 times. This time my handwriting looked like a stranger's. Linda would have held my hand. She'd have made some quiet joke about the coffee, about the receptionist's earrings, about anything that would let me know I wasn't alone in this. 3 years gone, and I still turned to tell her things. The clock above the reception desk clicked past 9:30. My appointment was at 9. They were running late, which meant bad news. Good news comes on time. Bad news makes you wait. Eric sighed, shifted in his chair, glanced at his watch. Work? I asked. Oh, yeah. Big closing Friday. He went back to his phone. I watched the second hand sweep around the clock face, tried to count my breaths, slow them down the way Linda taught me when I'd get worked up on grading exams. In through the nose, out through the mouth, find the rhythm. The math teacher in me started calculating. Pancreatic cancer. I looked it up after the nurse called. Survival rates. Stage progression. 5-year outlook. Numbers don't lie, and these numbers were brutal. I built our house in 1985, 2,000 square feet on an acre outside town. Did most of the work myself. Weekends, summers, Linda handing me tools and keeping the kids out of the sawdust. Eric was 7. His sister Katie was 4. They used to play in the frame before we put up the drywall. That house was algebra made real. Every angle is precise. Every measurement was checked twice. Mr. Calloway. The nurse stood in the doorway. Young woman, kind eyes. Dr. Martinez is ready for you. Eric stood first, pocketed his phone. I pushed myself up from the chair, knees complaining like they always did. Followed the nurse down the hallway, Eric behind me. The walk felt longer than it was. She said, 6 months, the way you'd say, Tuesday. Matter of fact, because pretending would be crueler. Dr. Elena Martinez had been my oncologist for exactly 2 weeks, since the CT scan sent me from my general practitioner to a specialist. Her office had diplomas from UCLA and Johns Hopkins on the wall. A photo of 2 kids at a soccer game, a window overlooking the parking lot where Eric's Lexus sat in the visitor section, still shiny from the Phoenix car wash. She gestured to 2 chairs across from her desk. Leather, comfortable. The kind of chairs that told you this conversation was going to take time. Eric sat. I sat. Dr. Martinez folded her hands on a manila folder I knew contained images of my insides. She was maybe 50. Wedding ring. Calm in the way people get when they deliver terrible news for a living. Warren, she said. Not Mr. Calloway. Warren. The biopsy results confirmed what we suspected. You have stage IV pancreatic adenocarcinoma. It's metastasized to your liver. The words landed like stones. Stage 4. Metastasized. The worst numbers in the sequence. Surgery isn't an option at this stage, she continued. Her voice stayed steady, professional, but not cold. Chemotherapy might extend your timeline, but I want to be honest with you. The side effects are severe. Nausea, fatigue, neuropathy. It would be a difficult few months, and the gain would be measured in weeks, not years. I watched her mouth move, heard the words. They felt like they were coming through water. The alternative is palliative care. We focus on quality of life, pain management, keeping you comfortable. You could do this at home or consider an assisted living facility with medical support. Home, the house I built, the bedroom Linda and I shared for 38 years, or somewhere new, somewhere where I wouldn't be a burden. How long? My voice sounded strange, too calm, like I was asking about the weather. Dr. Martinez didn't look away. I respected that. The median survival for stage 4 pancreatic cancer is 6 months. Some patients have more time, some have less. Everyone's different. 6 months. I'd spent longer than that building the deck, longer than that student teaching before I got hired full-time. 6 months was nothing. A semester, 2 quarters, football season. My heartbeat filled my ears. Steady, rhythmic, still alive. I thought about Linda's last 6 months. The hospice bed in our living room, the morphine pump, the way she'd smile when the grandkids visited, even when I knew the pain was crushing her. She'd made it look easy. Dying made it look peaceful. I didn't feel peaceful. The grandkids, I said. Katie's boys. They're 8 and 11. You'll have time with them? Dr. Martinez said quietly. Good time. That's what proper care preserves. Eric shifted beside me. I'd almost forgotten he was there. Dad, I know this is... He cleared his throat, leaned forward. I mean, obviously this is a lot to process. Dr. Martinez looked at him, nodded slightly. But since we're talking about logistics, Eric's voice carried that professional tone he used with clients. Smooth, reasonable. Have you thought about what happens to the house? Time stopped. I turned my head, stared at my son. His face was serious, concerned even, asking a practical question. The house I'd just learned I might die in. The house I'd built with my hands. The house Linda died in. The house where my grandkids still came for Christmas. That house. Excuse me? Dr. Martinez's voice changed. The warmth vanished. I'm just saying, Eric continued. Dad's going to need to think about estate planning. The property's worth probably $750 now, maybe $800 if... 6 months, I said. I was still processing the word terminal when my son asked about square footage. Mr. Calloway just received a terminal diagnosis. Dr. Martinez's words came out precise, clipped, the kind of tone that should have stopped Eric cold. This is not the time for real estate discussions. But Eric didn't stop. I understand that, doctor. I do. He turned to me, his expression earnest, reasonable. Dad, I'm not trying to be insensitive, but you taught me to think ahead, right? To plan? You're going to need to get your affairs in order. Katie and I need to know what you're thinking. Affairs in order. I'd been dying for 45 seconds, and my son wanted to know about property division. Eric, my voice came out steady. Years of classroom management. I just found out I have 6 months to live. I know, Dad. He reached over, touched my arm, and I'm here for you. But we should talk about these things while you're still clear-headed, before, he trailed off, before it gets bad, before I lose my mind, he meant, before cancer takes my clarity. Dr. Martinez stood. I think we're done here. Just 5 more minutes, Eric started. We're done. She walked to the door, opened it. Her face had gone from professional compassion to something harder. Disgust, maybe. Warren, I'll have my nurse schedule your follow-up. We'll discuss treatment and care options. You can call my office anytime if you have questions. She looked at Eric, said nothing. Didn't have to. I pushed myself up from the leather chair. My legs worked. My heart still beats. 6 months of that, and then I'd deal with that when it came. Eric followed me into the hallway. The nurse who'd walked us back avoided eye contact. She knew. They all knew. Small medical office, thin walls. Everyone heard. Dad, wait. Eric caught up as I reached the lobby. I didn't mean to upset you. I'm trying to help. I stopped, turned. I looked at my son. I am 43 years old. 6'2", my height. Got my eyes, Linda's smile. Wore a suit, even on a Tuesday, because he said it was important to look professional. I'd taught him long division on the kitchen table, taught him to throw a baseball, paid for his college because I believed in education, in giving your kids more than you had. Standing there in the medical center lobby, I didn't recognize him. I need to go home, I said. Of course. Yeah, let's go. He pulled out his car keys. We can talk on the drive, figure out next steps. Next steps. Like this was a business plan. I followed him through the automatic doors into the October sunlight. Prescott autumn, still warm, sky impossibly blue, the kind of day that makes you grateful to be alive. 6 months of days like this, maybe more if I'm lucky. Eric unlocked the Lexus. I climbed into the passenger seat, buckled the seatbelt out of habit. He started the engine, adjusted the air conditioning, and checked his mirrors. So I was thinking, he said, backing out of the space. Katie and I should probably meet with your lawyer, get everything documented. The house, your retirement accounts, all of it. Clean transfer, no probate mess. I watched Prescott slide past the window, the town I'd lived in for 49 years, the place I'd raised my family, buried my wife, the place where I thought I'd live out my remaining days. If you've ever had someone show you who they really are in a single moment, drop a comment. Let me know where you're watching from. And if you've got 6 minutes, stick with me. This gets worse before it gets better. The drive home took 18 minutes. He'd Googled my home's value before he Googled pancreatic cancer survival rates. For the first 10 minutes, neither of us spoke. I watched Prescott drift past. The pine trees along Highway 89, the old courthouse square, the neighborhoods I'd driven through for 49 years. Everything looked the same. Nothing was the same. Eric kept his eyes on the road, hands at 10 and 2. The way I'd taught him when he got his learner's permit at 15. He'd been so excited that day. Couldn't wait to drive. I can't wait to grow up. I wondered when he'd stopped being the kid who built Lego cities on our living room floor. Dad. His voice broke the silence. I know the timing's bad. The timing's bad. Like he'd brought up politics at Thanksgiving. But we need to think ahead. You're going to have medical expenses, treatment costs, care facilities. These things add up fast. I kept staring out the window. A young mother pushed a stroller past the coffee shop on Cortez Street. Life continues. Ordinary and impossible. The house is paid off, right? Eric didn't wait for an answer. Zillow says properties in your area are going for around $750, maybe $800. That's equity just sitting there. Equity. He was talking about the place I'd framed and roofed and wired like it was a stock portfolio. We could sell it, he continued. Professional voice, the one he used on conference calls. Use the proceeds for your care. Whatever's left, Katie and I split evenly. Clean, fair, no complications. I turned to look at him, really look at him. He had his mother's nose, my jawline. He wore a Rolex I'd given him for his 40th birthday, drove a $70,000 car, lived in a 4-bedroom house in Scottsdale with a pool and a 3-car garage, and he wanted to liquidate my home to squeeze out more money. You researched property values? I said quietly. Well, yeah. I wanted to know what we're working with, financially speaking. When? He glanced at me. When what? When did you research it? A pause. I don't know. Last week? After your nurse called about the follow-up. Last week. before the diagnosis was confirmed, before he knew for certain what we were dealing with. He'd been planning this. Have you looked up pancreatic cancer? I asked. Another pause. Longer this time. I know it's serious. Have you looked it up? Not in detail. I figured the doctor would explain everything. He'd researched real estate comps, but not my disease. He knew my home's market value, but not my survival odds. The math was simple, brutal, clear. We should probably talk to a realtor this week, Eric said, turning onto my street. Get the ball rolling. I know a guy in Prescott who does luxury properties. He'd give us a good rate on commission. A guy. He'd already made contact. Does Katie know? I asked. About the house? Not yet. I wanted to run it by you first, but she'll understand. She's practical. Katie, my daughter, living in Denver with her husband and 2 boys. She'd called me every Sunday for 20 years, send the grandkids down every summer. Still cried when she talked about her mother, Katie, who Eric hadn't mentioned once since Dr. Martinez said 6 months. We need to be smart about this, Dad. I'm just trying to help. Be smart. I'd spent 35 years teaching children that math has the right answers, that if you follow the steps, solve for X, show your work, you'll get to the truth. My son had solved for X. X was money. X was always money. Eric pulled into my driveway, put the Lexus in park. He had a realtor friend on standby. I hadn't even called my daughter yet. Here's the thing. Eric shifted in his seat, turning to face me. Business posture. Medical care is expensive. Even with Medicare, you're looking at copays, medications, facility costs if you need them. Bills are going to pile up. We need to be smart about this. Smart. Like I'd been foolish for 50 years. I have savings, I said. Pension, Medicare, Part B, supplemental insurance through the teachers' union. Eric waved a hand. Dismissive. That won't cover everything, Dad. Seriously. Cancer treatment and end-of-life care costs are huge. I've seen it with clients. People drain their accounts, then their kids get stuck with the bills. I won't leave you with bills. You don't know that. You can't know that. His voice carried that edge of impatience, the tone he'd use when I'd suggest he slow down, think things through. This is what I do for a living. I understand assets and liabilities. The house is your biggest asset. Not using it doesn't make sense. Not using it. I built that house in 1985. Took me 3 years working weekends and summers. Linda would bring me lemonade when the Arizona heat hit 110. Eric was 7. He'd hand me nails, ask 1,000 questions about why studs go 16 inches apart, why foundations need rebar. I taught him how things get built, how you start with nothing and create something solid, something that lasts. Linda planted the rose garden in 1988, spent every Saturday morning out there with her gloves and pruning shears. The roses still bloom. I water them every Thursday. Katie learned to bake in that kitchen, spent her teenage years covered in flour, making cookies for school fundraisers. The oven's the same one, still works perfectly. The living room's where Eric played with his trucks, built blanket forts, and watched Saturday cartoons, where Katie practiced piano, where Linda and I watched our children grow, the bedroom where Linda died, hospice bed against the east wall, morning light through the window she loved. She held my hand for 3 days before she finally let go. Every room holds memories, every corner holds history, and Eric wanted to liquidate it. We'd need to stage it, he was saying. Clear out some of the old furniture, freshen up the paint, maybe refinish the hardwood in the living room. First impressions matter. My realtor friend says, you talk to a realtor. Eric blinked. What? You said my realtor friend says. You've already discussed this. A beat of silence. I mentioned it, casually, just to get a sense of the market. You discussed selling my house with a stranger before you discussed it with me. He's not a stranger, he's a colleague, and I was doing research. Due diligence. At home. My life. When? I asked. Does it matter? When did you call him? Eric sighed. Yesterday. Maybe the day before. Look, I knew this appointment was coming. I wanted to be prepared to help you. Yesterday, while I was sitting in my house, alone, terrified of what Dr. Martinez might tell me, while I was thinking about Linda, about the grandkids, about how much time I had left. My son was on the phone with a realtor. "I'm trying to help, Dad." Eric's voice softened, but the impatience underneath didn't change. "I know this is hard. I know you're emotional, but someone needs to think practically here. Someone needs to make sure you're taken care of." Taken care of? Like I was a child. Like I hadn't spent 71 years taking care of myself, taking care of him. "I need to go inside," I said. "Okay, sure." Eric checked his watch. "I should head back to Phoenix anyway. Got that closing Friday. But I'll call you tomorrow and we can talk more. Maybe set up a meeting with the realtor? Just exploratory. Just exploratory." I opened the car door. The October air smelled like pine and wood smoke. Someone down the street was burning leaves. "Dad?" Eric's voice followed me. "This is going to be okay. I'm going to handle everything. You don't need to worry." I closed the door. I walked up the path I'd laid myself, flagstone by flagstone, in 1986. Behind me, Eric's Lexus pulled away. Section 2.3, the decision. I stood in the house I built and realized my son saw it as a paycheck, not a home. The front door opened the way it always did, smooth on the hinges I'd oiled last month. The entryway smelled like the lemon furniture polish I used on Sundays. Everything in its place. Everything exactly as I'd left it 2 hours ago. 2 hours. That's all it took to learn you're dying and that your son doesn't care. I closed the door. The silence settled around me. Not peaceful, heavy. I stood there for a long minute. Just stood. The afternoon light came through the window above the door, the same light that hit Linda's face every time she came home from work. She'd set her purse on the entry table, kick off her shoes, and smile at me. "Hey, stranger." Every day for 38 years. "Hey, stranger." The entry table's still there. Her purse isn't. I walked through the house slowly, deliberately, the way you walk through a museum, saying goodbye to each exhibit. The kitchen, white cabinets I'd built and hung in 1985. The table where I taught both kids their multiplication tables. The living room, hardwood floors I'd laid myself. The fireplace that took me 6 weekends. Photos on the mantle. Eric's high school graduation. Katie's wedding. The grandkids at the Grand Canyon last summer. Linda's last birthday. I walked to the bedroom, stood in the doorway. The bed where Linda died 3 years ago, where she'd whispered, "Take care of them," with her last breath. Them, Eric and Katie, I'd promised. But taking care of them didn't mean letting one of them bulldoze the other. Didn't mean rewarding greed. I walked back to the kitchen, sat at the oak table. The afternoon sun slanted through the window. This house wasn't real estate. It wasn't equity or assets or market value. It was where I became a father, where Linda became a mother, where we built a family. Eric saw a paycheck. He'd already called a realtor, already researched values, already planned the sale. I sat there for a long time, thinking, calculating, making the hardest decision of my life. Then I picked up my phone, found the number I needed. Robert Thomas, my lawyer for 23 years, handled Linda's will. Mine too, the basic one I'd drawn up when the kids were young. That will leave everything to Eric and Katie. Split evenly. Simple. Fair. Not anymore. The phone rang twice. "Warren?" Robert's voice familiar and calm. "Everything okay?" "No," I said. "I need to change my will and I need to put my house on the market." There was a pause. "Want to tell me what's happening?" So I did. All of it. The diagnosis, Eric's question, the drive home, the realtor he'd already contacted. "Jesus," Robert muttered when I finished. "I'm selling the house," I said, "using the money for my care and for Katie and the grandkids. Eric gets nothing, and I'm moving to an assisted living facility with medical support. I'm not giving him the satisfaction of profiting from this." "You sure about this, Warren?" "Completely." "Then let's get started." My lawyer asked if I was sure about disinheriting my son. I asked if he could do it today. Robert Thomas had handled Linda's will when she died. He'd done mine years before that, back when the kids were young and everything seemed simple. Leave it all to the children, split evenly. That was the plan. Plans change. His office was downtown, above the hardware store on Cortez Street. I'd been climbing these stairs for 20 years. They felt steeper now, but I made it. Robert met me at the door. 60-something, gray beard, wire-rimmed glasses. He'd lost his own wife a decade back. We'd talked about grief over coffee once, the kind of conversation men have when they realize they're in the same terrible club. Warren, he shook my hand, studied my face. You sounded determined on the phone. Stage 4 pancreatic cancer, I said. 6 months, maybe more. And my son asked about my house before I left the exam room. His expression shifted. God, Warren, I'm sorry. About all of it. Thank you. I need 2 things. A new will and help listing my house. He gestured to a chair. Let's start with the will. Walk me through what happened. I told him everything. The diagnosis. Eric's question. The drive home. The realtor Eric had already contacted. Robert's jaw tightened. He didn't interrupt. I want him removed from the will completely, I said. Everything goes to Katie. I'll set up trusts for the grandkids. But Eric gets nothing. Arizona law allows complete disinheritance of adult children, Robert said. You're within your rights. Good. I'd recommend including a letter of explanation, something clear and documented. It makes contesting much harder. I'll write it today. And the house? I'm selling it. I'll use the proceeds to move into an assisted living facility with medical support, somewhere I can get proper care without being a burden to Katie. The rest of the money goes into trust for her and the grandkids. Robert leaned back. That's a big move, Warren. Are you sure you want to leave that house? Linda's there. Your memories. Linda's not in the house, I said quietly. She's in here. I tapped my chest. And I'm not giving Eric the satisfaction of inheriting it. He wanted me to sell it? Fine, I'll sell it. On my terms. For my care. And he won't see a dime. Robert nodded slowly. That's taking control. I respect that. How fast can we do this? The will? I can have it drafted by tomorrow. We'll need witnesses and notarization, but we can file it by the end of week. And the house? I know a good realtor. Not your son's friend. A slight smile. She's honest, fast, and she'll get you top dollar. In this market, you could be under contract in 2 weeks. Let's do it. We spent the next 3 hours going through everything. The new will, page by page. The letter explaining my decision. I kept it factual, unemotional, irrefutable. Power of attorney to Katie for medical decisions. Robert witnessed my signatures. His paralegal notarized everything. This is airtight, Robert said. Even if Eric contests, he won't win. When does he find out? I'll send certified mail in 72 hours. He'll get official notice. Good. I left Robert's office feeling lighter than I had in days. I was taking control. My life, my death, my choices. Eric wanted to plan my future. Fine. I just planned it without him. My daughter asked what I needed. My son had asked what I owned. I called Katie that evening. 6 o'clock, after dinner. She'd be finishing up her shift at Denver General. Probably tired. She's a nurse. ICU. The hardest rotation. 44 years old. Married to David for 18 years. 2 boys, Cameron and Tyler, 8 and 11. The phone rang 3 times. Hey, Dad. Her voice is bright, familiar. How'd the appointment go? I'd forgotten she knew about it. Forgot I'd mentioned it when she called last Sunday. Katie. My voice caught. Can you sit down? What's wrong? Please sit. A pause. Movement sounds. Okay. I'm sitting. Dad, you're scaring me. I told her. Simple, direct. Stage 4, pancreatic. 6 months, maybe more with treatment. She didn't say anything for a long time. I heard her breathing. I heard her crying quietly. Katie, I'm here. Her voice broke. I'm here, Dad. I'm processing. I know. 6 months. Maybe more. Maybe less. I'm going to do some treatment. See if we can stretch it. More crying. Then, what do you need? Do you need me to come? I can take family leave. David can handle the boys. What do you need? What do you need? Not what the house is worth. Not who gets what. Now let's talk logistics. What do you need? I need to tell you what I'm planning, I said, and I need you to understand why. Okay. Eric asked about the house in Dr. Martinez's office. Before I stood up, before I'd processed anything, he asked about property value. Silence. Then, of course he did. You're not surprised? No. Her voice hardened. He called me an hour ago, asked if I thought the house should be sold to help with Dad's expenses. He wanted to know if I'd talked to you about it yet. My hands tightened on the phone. What did you say? I told him you just got diagnosed and maybe he should ask how you're feeling instead of how much equity you have. What did he say? That I was being emotional and someone needed to think practically. I closed my eyes. Katie, I'm selling the house. What? On my terms. For my care. I'm moving into an assisted living facility with medical support. Somewhere they can help me through this. And I'm changing my will. Eric's not in it anymore. Katie was quiet for a long moment. Dad, you don't have to. Yes, I do. He showed me who he is, and I can't give him what I built. Not when he sees it as inventory. Okay? She said softly. Okay, if that's what you need to do. You understand? Dad, he asked about the house before you left the room. Of course I understand. We talked for another hour. I explained the plan, the assisted living facility, the new will, the trusts for her and the boys. She cried. I cried. But underneath the grief, there was something else. Relief, maybe. That I was taking control. That I wasn't just letting this happen to me. Can I visit? She asked. Once you're settled? Every weekend if you want. Bring the boys. I want as much time with them as I can get. We'll be there, she promised. And Dad, I'm proud of you for doing this your way. Thank you, sweetheart. I love you. I love you too. After we hung up, I sat in the quiet house for a long time. Tomorrow, I'd meet with the realtor, start packing, begin the process of leaving the place where Linda and I built our life. It hurt. God, it hurts. But Eric had made his choice, and I was making mine. If you've got a Katie in your life, someone who shows up when it's hard, take a second and subscribe. You'll want to hear what happens when Eric finds out. He called my decision confusion because I wouldn't let him profit from my death. The call started 2 days after Katie and I talked. First call, Thursday morning. Eric wanted to check in, see how I was processing everything. I didn't answer. Let it go to voicemail. Second call, Thursday afternoon. He'd been thinking about options, had some ideas to discuss. I deleted the voicemail. Friday, an email. Subject line, Dad, let's talk. 3 paragraphs about family, responsibility, and making smart decisions together. I didn't respond. Saturday morning, my phone rang. Eric again. This time, I answered. Dad, finally. Look, I know you're upset about the appointment, but we need to. I'm selling the house. Silence. Then, what? The house. I'm selling it. I've already contacted a realtor. Dad, wait. That's exactly what I was suggesting. We can work together on this. My guy can. Not your guy. My realtor. And I'm using the money for assisted living, medical care. What's left goes to Katie and trust the grandkids. Another pause. What's left? Dad, that doesn't make sense. You don't need to spend everything on staying alive, on proper care. That's not what I meant. I just think we should be strategic about. I've also changed my will. You're not in it. Dead silence. You're, what? Not in the will. Everything goes to Katie. You can't do that. I already did. It's filed. Legal. Final. This is insane. You're not thinking clearly. The cancer, the stress. My mind is perfectly clear. Dr. Martinez confirmed it. So did my lawyer. Dad, listen to yourself. You're making emotional decisions. Rash decisions. Let me come up there. We can talk about this rationally. There's nothing to talk about, Eric. You asked about my house before I left the exam room. That told me everything I needed to know. I was trying to help. You were trying to calculate your inheritance while I was learning I was dying. His breathing was loud through the phone. Angry. Desperate. So that's it? One question and you're cutting me out? Punishing me? I'm not punishing you. I'm protecting what I built. There's a difference. This is Katie, isn't it? She got in your head. She's manipulating you to cut me out. Katie asked what I needed. You asked what you owned. That's the difference. I don't accept this. I'm getting a lawyer. I'll contest this. You're welcome to try. You'll lose, and you'll pay legal fees for doing it. Eric was quiet for a moment. Then his voice changed. Softer, pleading. Dad, please, don't do this. I'm your son. I love you. I made a mistake, okay? The timing was bad. I know that now. But don't throw away our relationship over one bad moment. Eric, do you know what pancreatic cancer is? Have you looked it up yet? Silence. Have you? I've been busy with... You haven't. 2 weeks later, and you still haven't researched my disease, but you know my property value is down to the 1,000. That's not fair. It's math, Eric, and the math is clear. Goodbye. I hung up. He called back 17 times that day. I didn't answer. The next day, the certified letter from Robert arrived at his office. Eric called at 11:52 a.m. I was meeting with the realtor, looking at photos she'd taken of the house. I let it go to voicemail. Dad, I just got a letter from your lawyer. Is this real? You're really doing this? You're really choosing Katie over me? Fine. You want to cut me out? Go ahead. But don't expect me to be there when you need me. Don't expect me to show up when things get bad. You made your choice. I deleted the voicemail. The realtor, Susan Miller, 62, professional, kind, looked at me with concern. Everything okay, Mr. Calloway? It will be, I said. Show me those photos again. The house sold in 12 days for $820,000. Susan Miller was a miracle worker. She had the place staged, photographed, and listed within a week. Open house that Sunday. 15 groups came through. By Wednesday, we had 4 offers, all over asking. I accepted the highest one, $820, $20,000 more than Eric's estimate. The irony wasn't lost on me. Katie flew down to help me pack. We spent a week going through 40 years of accumulated life. Keep what mattered, donated the rest. Linda's rose bushes. I dug them up myself, potted them carefully. The assisted living facility said I could keep them on my patio. Photos. Linda's jewelry. My teaching awards. The oak table from the kitchen. Katie wanted it. I gave it to her gladly. Tools went to Cameron and Tyler. When they're old enough, I told Katie, teach them how to build things. Everything else, furniture, dishes, the stuff that fills a house, went to charity or the new owners. The hardest part was the bedroom. Linda's side of the closet still had her sweaters, her perfume on the dresser, dried up but still there. I'd left it like a shrine. Katie helped me box it up. We cried together. She'd be proud of you, Katie said, for doing this your way. You think so? I know so. Mom never let anyone push her around. Neither should you. The closing was set for November 18th, 1 month and 3 days after the diagnosis. Eric called the day before closing. I answered this time. So, you're really selling it? Tomorrow at 2 p.m.? Dad, please. One more time. Please reconsider. That house is our family history. Was our family history. Now it's someone else's home. Where will you go? An assisted living facility with a medical wing. Nursing staff 24/7. It's 10 minutes from downtown. Katie and the boys can visit easily. Assisted living. He said it like a curse word. You're going to die in an old folks' home instead of your own house. I'm going to live in a place where I'll get proper care, where I won't be a burden, where I can meet people, join activities, maybe have some good days before the bad ones come. This is my fault. Yes, I said. It is. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Dad. I was wrong. I know that now, can't we? Eric, I don't have time for grudges. I don't have time for anger. I have 6 months, maybe a bit more if I'm lucky. I'm spending that time with people who love me for who I am, not what I own. That's not you, and I've made peace with that. Dad, goodbye, Eric. Take care of yourself. I hung up for the last time. The closing went smoothly. I signed papers, shook hands with the young couple buying the house. They had a toddler. The wife was pregnant. We love the bones of this place, the husband said. The craftsmanship. You can tell someone built this with care. I did, I told him. Treat it well. We will. Promise. I walked out of the title company with a check for $820,000 and nowhere to live but forward. It felt like freedom. The assisted living facility had better coffee than my house ever did. Turned out freedom tastes pretty good. The facility sat on a hill overlooking Prescott Valley. Modern building, clean lines, big windows. Nothing institutional about it. More like a nice hotel that happened to have nurses. I moved on November 20th. Studio apartment in the medical wing. Small but comfortable. Kitchenette. Bathroom with safety bars. A patio facing east for morning sun. Linda's roses fit perfectly outside my door. The staff was professional and kind. Nurses checked on me twice daily. Medication management. vital signs, pain assessment, everything Dr. Martinez had recommended. But it wasn't a hospital, it was a community. Dining room with real food, chef prepared, not cafeteria slop. Activity center with art classes, book clubs, movie nights, physical therapy gym, library, garden, people living, not just waiting to die. My neighbor was Harold, 84, former Air Force pilot. Across the hall was Margaret, 79, retired librarian. Down the corridor was James, 66, former contractor. We had dinner together that first night. "What brings you here?" Harold asked, direct, military. "Pancreatic cancer, stage 4, 6 months, give or take." They didn't flinch, didn't offer platitudes, just nodded. "Prostate cancer," Harold said. "Got 3 years out of a 2-year prognosis. Still kicking." "Stroke," Margaret added. "I needed medical support. I decided I'd rather be here than burden my kids." "Heart disease," James said. "Triple bypass didn't take as they hoped. But I'm not ready to go yet." We weren't a death watch. We were people dealing with reality, making the most of what we had. I joined the woodworking club. Turns out James ran it. We built birdhouses together, talking about construction techniques and grandkids. I tutored in the library twice a week, helped residents with their finances, their bills, anything that needed math. Turns out 35 years of teaching didn't stop just because I left the classroom. Katie visited every weekend, brought Cameron and Tyler. We'd have lunch in my apartment, then walk the grounds. The boys loved Harold's war stories. "Are you happy here, Grandpa?" Tyler asked one Sunday. "Yeah," I said. "I really am." And I was. Not happy about the cancer. That sucked. But I'm happy about the choice, about taking control, about spending my remaining time on my terms. The treatment was manageable. Dr. Martinez set me up with a palliative care specialist at the facility. Light chemo to slow progression, not cure it. Pain management, nausea meds, regular monitoring. Some days were hard. The fatigue got worse. My appetite shrank. Pain crept in around the edges, but the staff managed it, adjusted medications. I made sure I was comfortable, and I had things to do, people to talk to, reasons to get up in the morning. December came. The facility was decorated for Christmas. Huge tree in the lobby, lights everywhere, holiday concerts in the activity center. Katie brought the boys for Christmas Eve. We had dinner in the dining room, prime rib, mashed potatoes, and the works. The chef made it special. Cameron gave me a birdhouse he'd built. "Used Grandpa's tools," he said proudly. Tyler gave me a book of math puzzles for when you're bored. Katie gave me a photo album, every picture from the old house. Linda, the kids, holidays, graduations, 40 years in one book. "So, you don't forget," she said. I could never forget. We spent Christmas morning in my apartment, opened presents, drank coffee. I watched the boys play with their new toys. It was quiet, simple, perfect. "This is good, Dad," Katie said when the boys were distracted. "You made the right choice." "You think?" "I know. You're getting proper care. You're not alone. You're living, not just surviving." "I am," I said. "I really am." That afternoon, my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Merry Christmas, Dad. Still thinking about you. Hope you're well. Eric." I stared at it for a long moment. Katie noticed. "Him?" "Yeah. Are you going to respond?" I thought about it. I really thought about it. Then I deleted the message. "No," I said. "I'm spending today with people who earned it." Katie squeezed my hand. If you've ever had to choose yourself over someone else's expectations, hit that like button and subscribe if you want to see how this story ends, because we're not done yet. Turns out dying isn't the worst thing that can happen. Giving up before you're gone is. January rolled around. New year, new me, or at least me making the most of the time I had left. Dr. Martinez was pleased with my progress. The light chemo was working better than expected, slowing things down. I wasn't getting better, but I wasn't declining as fast as predicted either. "You're one of the lucky ones," she said at my checkup. "Sometimes peace buys time." Peace. That's what I had. Finally, the days fell into a rhythm. Wake up at 7, coffee on the patio with Linda's roses, breakfast in the dining room with Harold, Margaret, and James. Woodworking in the morning, lunch, nap, tutoring in the afternoon, dinner, movie night or book club, or just sitting in my apartment reading. Simple, structured, good. I started writing letters to Cameron and Tyler for birthdays I'd miss, graduations, weddings, moments I wouldn't be there for. Dear Cameron, on your high school graduation. Dear Tyler, on your 18th birthday. I wrote one for Katie too, for after, telling her everything I wanted her to know, how proud I was, how much she'd meant to Linda and me, how she'd done everything right. I sealed them, dated them, put them in a box for her to find when the time came. Harold noticed me writing one afternoon in the library. Letters to the future? He asked. Something like that. I did the same thing. Years ago, when they told me I had 6 months. He grinned. Still haven't given them to my kids. Keeps me motivated to stick around. How do you do it? I asked. Keep going when you know. When I know it's coming? He shrugged. I figure I'm not dead yet. Might as well live until I am. Simple wisdom. Profound truth. I'm not dead yet. February brought more visitors. Old colleagues from Prescott High. Former students, now adults with kids of their own. Mr. Calloway, you changed my life, one said. A woman in her 30s, now an engineer. I hated math until your class. You made it make sense. That's what I tried to do, I told her. You succeeded. Those visits meant more than any inheritance ever could. I celebrated my 72nd birthday in March. 6 months had passed since the diagnosis. I was still here. Katie threw me a party in the activity center. 20 people came. Harold, Margaret, James, other residents, Katie, David, the boys, former colleagues, friends from town. No Eric. I didn't expect him. We ate cake, told stories, laughed. Speech, someone called out. I stood up. I looked around at all these faces, all these people who'd shown up. 6 months ago, I said, a doctor told me I had 6 months to live. I'm still here, not because I'm special or lucky, just because, well, I'm not done yet. People laughed. I've learned something in these months. Dying teaches you what matters, and what matters isn't what you leave behind. It's who you leave it to. It's who shows up, who asks what you need instead of what you own. I looked at Katie. She was crying. Thank you, I said, all of you, for showing up, for giving me reasons to wake up every morning, for treating me like I'm still living, not just dying. Here, here. Harold raised his coffee cup. Everyone cheered. It was the best birthday I'd had in years. April came. The cancer was progressing. Slowly, but progressing. More pain, more fatigue, harder to eat. Dr. Martinez adjusted my medications. The nurses increased their check-ins, but I was still mobile, still coherent, still me. Katie visited more often, sometimes just overnight, sometimes for long weekends. You don't have to, I told her. I know, I want to. We'd have breakfast together, take slow walks around the grounds, talk about everything and nothing. Any regrets? She asked one morning. About Eric? About any of it. I thought about it. I really thought about it. No, I said. I made the choice that honored who I am. I can't regret that. Even though you lost a son, I didn't lose a son. He lost a father. There's a difference. She was quiet for a moment. He asks about you sometimes, through David's brother, who knows someone who knows him. Roundabout. What does he ask? How are you doing? Where you are? If you're still alive, what do you tell them? That you're doing well? That you're happy? That you made your choice? Good, I said. That's all he needs to know. We walked in silence for a while. The morning sun warm on our faces. I'm proud of you, Dad, Katie said eventually. For what? For teaching me that love doesn't mean accepting bad behavior, that you can care about someone and still set boundaries, that you don't owe anyone access to your life just because they're family. Your mother taught you that, I said. I'm just reinforcing the lesson. You're both teaching me. Linda's roses were blooming, pink and red and white, beautiful. I was still here, still breathing, still living. That was enough. I'm telling you this story from my room at the assisted living facility. 6 months past my expiration date. It's October again, 1 year since the diagnosis. I'm still here. The doctors are surprised. Dr. Martinez uses words like remarkable and unusual. The chemo's working better than anyone expected. My quality of life is good. I'm weak, yes, tired, but alive. Harold calls me the math teacher who wouldn't follow the formula. Life doesn't always add up, I tell him. No, he agrees. It doesn't. I'm telling you this story now because I've learned something important, something I want you to understand. Terminal illness reveals character, both yours and everyone around you. Eric revealed his in one question, not through years of small disappointments, not through accumulated grievances. One moment, one question. What about the house? That's all it took. People say you can't judge someone by a single moment. They're wrong. Crisis moments tell the truth. Character isn't what you do when life is easy. Character is what you do when someone you love is running out of time. Eric showed his character. I responded, here's what I want you to understand. I don't hate my son. I never did. I loved him. I still do, in a way. But love doesn't mean enabling, doesn't mean rewarding, doesn't mean pretending someone is who they used to be instead of who they've become. Eric became someone who values transactions over people, property over presence, inheritance over relationships, and I couldn't give him what I built, not when he saw it as inventory. Katie earned her inheritance, not because she's a daughter instead of a son, because she showed up with compassion, because she asked what I needed, because she valued me over what I owned. That's the difference. The house sold for $820,000. I used it for my care here at the facility, for trusts for Cameron and Tyler, for Katie's future. Eric got nothing because Eric gave nothing when it mattered. Some of you watching this will think I'm cruel, that I'm punishing my son for one mistake. That family should forgive. You're entitled to that opinion. But I'm entitled to my boundaries, to my choices, to deciding who gets to benefit from my life's work. And I chose the people who showed up. I chose the daughter who asked what I needed. I chose the grandkids who visit every weekend. I chose the life I have left over the property I'm leaving behind. That's not cruelty. That's self-respect. My greatest regret isn't Eric's greed. It's that I didn't see it sooner, that it took a terminal diagnosis to show me who he'd become. But I'm grateful I saw it in time. Grateful I had the clarity to act, the courage to change my will, the strength to face Eric and say, no, you don't get to profit from my death. Robert Thomas filed my will that first week, ironclad, witnessed, beyond contest. Eric tried to fight it, hired a lawyer. The lawyer took one look at my documentation, Dr. Martinez's notes, my written statement, Katie's testimony, and told him to drop it. He dropped it. I haven't spoken to him in 11 months. Don't expect to. And I'm okay with that, because I'm spending my remaining time, however long that is, with people who've earned it, who show up, who care. That's what legacy really is. Not what you leave behind, but who you leave it to. Choose wisely. I water Linda's roses every morning and think about the family I chose versus the one I lost. It's a sunny Tuesday, mid-October. The Arizona sky, that impossible blue that makes you grateful to be alive. I'm on my patio watering the roses. They're thriving here, better than they did at the house maybe. New soil, new life. Cameron and Tyler are visiting. Fall break. They've been here since Saturday. Cameron's working in the woodworking shop with James, building a bookshelf for his room. Tyler's in the library helping Margaret organize the new donations. Katie's in my kitchenette making lunch, sandwiches, from the smell of it. Turkey or ham, Dad? She calls out. Turkey, I call back. This is my life now. Simple, full, good. David came down this weekend too. He and I played chess in the activity center. He beat me 3 games to 2. You're getting better, I told him. You're getting worse, he joked, then caught himself. Sorry, that was true, I finished. And funny. Don't apologize for honesty. The cancer's progressing. Slower than predicted, but progressing. Dr. Martinez says I might make it to Christmas, maybe New Year's if I'm lucky. I'm not scared. Not anymore. I've had a year, a good year, better than I expected. I've seen Cameron grow 3 inches, watched Tyler ace his first algebra test, celebrated Katie's birthday, helped Harold finish his memoir, taught a dozen residents how to balance their checkbooks. I've lived. That's more than a lot of people get. Last week, I got a letter. Return address in Phoenix. Eric's handwriting. I stared at it for a long time before opening it. Inside, 3 pages. His perspective, his apology, his regret. I was wrong, he wrote. I see that now. I let greed cloud my judgment. I let money matter more than you. I'm sorry. I know it's too late. I know I can't undo what I did. But I want you to know I understand why you did what you did. And I'm sorry. I read it twice. Then I put it in a drawer. Maybe I'll respond someday. Maybe I won't. But the apology doesn't change anything. Doesn't undo the moment in Dr. Martinez's office. Doesn't erase the phone calls, the pressure, the calculations. An apology is just words. Character is action. And Eric's action told me everything. Katie brought lunch out to the patio. Turkey sandwiches, chips, lemonade. "Boys," she called. "Lunch." They came running, sweaty, happy, alive. We sat around my little patio table, ate, talked, laughed. "Grandpa," Tyler said through a mouthful of sandwich, "can you help me with my math homework later?" "Of course." "And can you teach me to build a birdhouse?" Cameron asked. Already planned on it. Katie smiled at me, that smile that said everything was right in the world. "Love you, Dad," she said. "Love you too, sweetheart." After lunch, I helped Tyler with his homework, taught Cameron the basics of a birdhouse, sat with Katie and talked about nothing important. The sun set over Prescott Valley, pink and orange and gold. Another day, another gift. I'm still here, and I'm surrounded by the people who chose to be here too. That's legacy. That's everything. If you're watching this, you're either facing something similar or you're trying to understand someone who did. Let me tell you what I've learned. Boundaries matter, even with family, especially with family. You don't owe your legacy to someone just because you raised them. You don't owe your life's work to someone who sees it as inventory. Blood doesn't obligate you to reward behavior that violates your values. I'm not saying cut people off for minor offenses. I'm saying when someone shows you who they are in your darkest moment, believe them. Eric asked about property value before he asked about my pain. That wasn't a mistake. That was a priority. Legal preparation protects dignity. I went to Robert Thomas immediately, updated my will, wrote my statement, filed my documents, made everything ironclad before the cancer took my clarity. That matters, because if you wait, you lose control. If you hope it'll work out, you're gambling with your legacy. If you assume your kids will figure it out, you're leaving chaos instead of closure. Do it now, today, while you can. Actions speak louder than apologies. Eric apologized eventually, wrote me a letter full of regret and understanding, but the apology came 11 months after the offense, after I'd changed my will, after I'd sold my house, after I'd made my position clear. Was it genuine? Maybe. Does it matter? Not really, because character isn't what you say when you realize you've lost something. Character is what you do when someone needs you. Eric did calculations. Katie did caregiving. I responded accordingly. Quality of life beats quantity every time. I could have stayed in my house, died in the bedroom where Linda died. Some people would call that romantic, meaningful. I call it impractical. I chose an assisted living facility because I wanted proper care, because I didn't want to burden Katie, because I wanted community, activity, life. And you know what? This year has been good, really good. I've made friends. I learned new things, taught, laughed, lived. That's worth more than dying in a specific location. You get to choose your family in the end. Blood makes you related. Love makes you family. I'm related to Eric, but Katie is my family. The people at the facility are my family. Harold, Margaret, James, the nurses who check on me, the chef who makes my meals. Family is who shows up, who cares, who asks what you need instead of what you own. And you get to choose them. Here's what I want you to do. If you're healthy, update your will. Make sure it reflects your values, not default assumptions. If someone in your life is terminal, ask what they need, not what happens after, what they need now. If you're the one who's sick, set boundaries. Choose who gets your time, your energy, your legacy. And if someone reveals themselves in a moment of crisis, believe what they show you. I'm Warren Calloway, 72 years old, stage 4 pancreatic cancer, living at an assisted living facility in Prescott, Arizona. I was supposed to be dead 9 months ago. I'm still here, spending time with people who earned it, teaching when I can, loving who deserves it, living on my terms until I can't anymore. That's the lesson. That's everything. Thanks for watching. If this story meant something to you, leave a comment about someone who showed up when it mattered. Hit like if you believe actions define character. Subscribe if you want more stories about dignity, boundaries, and the choices that define us. And remember, you're not dead yet. Live like it.